All right, so welcome everyone to today's webinar. Today is the second webinar for the Business Plan Development Focus for the 2022 academy for week 2. And topic for today's webinar is choosing a business model. We have our presenter with us now and we'll be hearing from him soon. So welcome again. Thank you for coming and being on time. My name is Success Eugene, and I'm the West Africa Regional Coordinator for WMI, and I'll be serving as the moderator for this session. So I'll go straight to introduce our presenter for today. So our presenter for today is Joel Bamwise, and he's a Ugandan. He's a manager of the programs in Stanbic Business Incubator, and is a coordinator of the Commonwealth Alliance of the Young Entrepreneurs Africa. So he's an Africa ecosystem developer, an experienced executive manager with a demonstrated history of working in the civil society for profit companies and startups. He also functions as an investment advisory consultant and the founder and CEO of Amangula Finance. What Joel Bamwise do is inspire and empower young people across the world in leadership, entrepreneurship, life skills, and advocacy. So he's such a great resource, and we are delighted to have him with us today. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Joel Bamwise. So the audience is yours now. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Success. I hope you can hear me, and welcome everyone who is on the call. I'm privileged to be here, and thank you for the warm introduction and for the invitation to speak to you. I'm privileged to be here. I hope you're excited, all of you there. I know you may not be able to speak, or I can't see all of you there, but I hope you are excited to be in this call. And I've been informed that you have been part of a series of lectures in the past weeks, talking about businesses and the like. And today we want to make that even more fun and continue that process. But before I continue, Success, I just want you to confirm that everyone can hear me clearly.
Well, I can hear you. If you can use the chat
Excellent.
option. Yes,
Excellent.
all right. Yeah, they can hear you.
Great. That's wonderful. All right. Thank you for the introduction again, Success. And as Success said, today we are talking about choosing a business model, and we don't have a lot of time. I remember before I got in this discussion today, I had a chat with Success, and one of the debates we had was, should we talk about it in the academic sense, or should we also talk about it in the practical space? And Success clearly said that, you know, we want to see an element of the practical space. I can assure you, I have started businesses before, I have failed before, I have succeeded before, but I'm also a certified trainer of businesses. I've worked also with international organizations in the past, and my role was to support young African entrepreneurs to grow, remodel their businesses, and increase their revenue over time. So that is from that experience is where I want us to build this business modeling. If you can use a few elements in the chat on, I don't know what you people understand by a business model. Could someone post something in the chat of what do you understand by a business model? What comes to your mind when you hear this word business model? You can post something in the chat. Okay, Success. If there is an issue, you could tap me, but In case it is possible, I would like to hear what comes in people's minds, and maybe if you can, you could help me read the chat if it is enabled by now.
All right, sure. We're trying to enable the chat, and once we do that, I'll read them out. But you can use the Q&A option to put in your answers until the chat is enabled. Thank you.
Okay, success, you let me know in case there is any success there. Otherwise, I can also proceed as we fix that.
You can proceed while we fix that, Joel.
Okay, excellent. So we will be talking about these particular elements, and I want you to have an open mind to understand, to even share more broadly, even on a more practical sense, because I am reliably informed many of you desire to become entrepreneurs. And if you wish to become an entrepreneur, it is very important to know how do you choose a business model? What kind of things do you do? Must you do? And there is a lot of resources online, which we shall share later, which you can also Google on your own or watch YouTube videos about it. But today is to hear from an entrepreneur myself and also an academician on how do you literally choose a business model. A business model really is generally described as how you create, how you deliver, and how you capture value back from your customers. I want us to note these three pillars. How do you create value? How do you deliver that value? And how do you capture value back from your customers? And this is put out again just to be created in a more subtle way, because if you can only understand these three elements, I can assure you, you can create any sort of business that you want if you just focus on these three key elements of how does the business create value. Now, in creating value is why should anyone care about why you exist? What value is it there that you're giving to the customers? What is it that you're offering to the customers? You can use all sorts of examples. For example, the university we are at has value. Success, I would need you to tap me in case the chat is open, because I would like to hear a few comments from the participants once they are able to begin sharing. Is it open or still fixing it? Okay. I think, all right.
I have an answer
Is
from
everyone?
He's
okay.
answering, and then he says, business model is a framework or track through which company can have space that creates value and fill a gap.
Excellent. I love that definition. How a company can create value and also fill a gap. So, for example, if someone can place in the chat, what value does the university offer? I would want a quick one on that. What value does the university offer? Anyone there? Okay. Success, are they able to type or not yet?
I don't think they're able to type yet.
Okay, cool. Then I want you to think about that element of what value does the university, for example, have to offer. Maybe let's say it is education. Someone has raised their hand, success. I'm not sure if we are able to take that. Is that even possible now? Okay. Well, I'll proceed as we clear the chat element. So the university creates a certain value, and let's say it is education. And how does the business deliver that value? You should ask yourself, just in the simplest way, how does the university deliver that value? Maybe through lectures, webinars like this one, etc. And then how does the business capture value back from its customers? And for that matter, maybe some of us are either on scholarships or some of us pay. The university captures back value from the customers. So these three elements cut across all sorts of businesses in the world. Every time you come up with a business idea, ask yourself, how do I create value? How do I deliver that value to the customers? And how do I capture value back from my customers? And if you have that in play, then it will be very easy for you to run any sort of business that comes into it. Now, there are various ways of how you can create tools that the tools that are used for creating business modeling. And many people come up with all sorts of tools, but academically, we also know that I believe many of you have heard about the business plan before, and you've heard about, at least everyone has heard about the business plan. Now there is something else they call the business model canvas, which we shall also talk about. But there is something that is in the past 10, almost 20 years that has also started coming to life, which is called the business lean canvas, the lean canvas. And I'll dive deeper into these particular three elements on what is, or when should we, how do you create a business plan? When should you even create a business plan? Because it is a tool to do business modeling. So these are tools that are used for business modeling. Sorry, hello? Should I continue, Success, or is there a comment?
Oh, please do continue.
All right, excellent. So, yeah, I see the chat is now open. Excellent as well. These are some of the three main core tools that are used for business modeling. And I repeat, the business plan, the lean canvas, and the business model canvas. In the past, all we knew was business plan, but now then we developed a simpler version called the business model canvas. And now as the trends also move, there is what we call the lean canvas. And don't worry about it now. I'm going to explain to you what all these mean and why or when you should use them for business modeling. Now, what is the recommended tool for each stage? Let me tell you a small story and introduce to you some of these elements that maybe you've heard, maybe you've not yet heard. There's something we call waterfall. Some of you who might also cross-cut and study a little bit of IT or information technology might come up with some of the methodologies used in creating software. Amongst those include waterfall, agile, and then there is something now newer, which is called lean startup and a collusion between lean startup and agile. And the scale you see in front of you moves from known to unknown. Now, when we say known is when you know that everything is going to work out according to plan. There is nothing to test, all right? Everything, it is a proven business model. If it is a proven business model, you may want to think about what tool should I use. A proven business model can include, let's say, a car. I'll give you more examples later, but if it is a known business model, you know how to create it, you know the customers, you know the price, then by all means, the methodology that can be used is called waterfall. Then there's what we call agile. Agile, you have a few unknowns. There might be elements which are not known. Maybe you're not very sure what is the customer looking for? Or how do I create this value? How best do I deliver this value? And then for the unknown, there is the lean, startup, and agile, where a lot of things change, especially in this current era. Bear with me. Let me pick you up. Now, there's something we call the innovation Morse code. The innovation Morse code talks about at what stage do you build, when do you release, and when do you get customer feedback. Many of us have grown up in a lot of different areas. And for example, there is a very small lamp in the olden time, which has a wick, which is like a candle. But we know that that thing has never changed from ages all over. Why? The people who created it, think about a bar of soap. A bar of soap, you know the customer, you know its use, so you just set up a factory, you build, you get the raw materials, send the soap into the market, and you wait for customer feedback. But in the current era, where things change constantly, think about what we call now, the newer mode, which is agile. Agile means, if you can look at these tags, the strong line is build. You build something. The circle means you release it. Then the star means you gather customer feedback. Now, if you build something and then you release, gather customer feedback, release, gather customer feedback, release, you're beginning to move into an era of what we call lean innovation. Lean innovation listens to the customer. Now, if you are building, let's say your idea and business idea is, let's say, to put up a university. The university, you create a business plan because there are not too many other different things that might come up that are new. So you create a business plan for something that does not require a lot of innovation. And let me give you a few live examples that to make this a bit more easier. So waterfall might include things like planes. A plane, you know, it will carry customers, it will carry passengers, so they don't test too much on them. They have internal test mechanisms that they use at the factories. But if you're going to build a plane, you don't start with a kite when you're building a plane. No, you know the technology exists. You can just go and buy a plane and then put it in the air or put it on an airport and begin. So that is waterfall. Everything is known and you know what to do. Then the other example would, when you talk about agile, agile means you have to listen a little bit to the customers. You have to make a few changes along the way. You know, the only time normally they make changes on a plane is maybe when it has crashed. That's when they know. But apart from the continuous maintenance, everything is there. And that is on the waterfall. But when it comes to these consistent services, maybe it is a restaurant and food or these technology-related services, you do not have a choice but to begin creating feedback loops for your customers to understand, is it working, is it not working? Then the current era is the lean model or the lean innovation. Under lean innovation, literally, lean innovation was created by Toyota. If you ever read about lean production or lean manufacturing, the mothers and fathers of the lean model are actually in Toyota, where every time they wanted to release a vehicle, they would have to listen back to the feedback, change the model, create a new model, listen to the customer feedback, upgrade the model, release a new model, make it better. And that is what we call lean innovation. Now, lean innovation then requires that you have a short period of time from which you create and gather feedback. And that's why for right now, especially for startups, businesses that are new, that are not yet fully established, you're testing out a canteen, you're testing out a simple model or innovation. Then you need to, instead of creating a business plan, which will lock you for 5 years and give you projections that are not actually true, you may want to first think about either a model canvas or a lean canvas. And today, I want us to talk about more intently the lean model canvas. The lean model canvas. The lean model canvas is made up of 9 boxes. This is a way of capturing value, delivering that value, and creating that value. It is made up of 9 boxes. These 9 boxes include 1, the problem box, 2, the customer segment, 3, the value proposition that you're offering, 4, the solution, 5, the unfair advantage, 6, the revenue streams, 7, the cost structure, 8, the key metrics, and 9, the channels, how to reach these particular customers. Now, this is also a very common tool now that is especially very important for very early stage startups. I've been reliably informed that many of you have ideas and think about how do you want to create business models that work, that are simple, that can speak volumes without writing a 100-page business plan, because you don't have all the facts. The projections you're making can change every time. If you had a business plan in 2019, it is crushed right now because no one anticipated that COVID would work. But if you have a lean model canvas, then it is just a 1-pager. You just create another day and then create that business model canvas on the lean canvas. Now, what are the details? I want us to practice. What is this thing? What does it even look like on the lean model canvas? How do you create value from this? How do you capture value? How do you deliver this value to the customers? And I want us to practice how to fill in these particular 9 blocks. And just to remind us, we have 1. The block 1 is the problems. What problems are we solving? If you come up with a business idea, the first question you have to ask yourself, what problem am I solving? And then, whose problem is it? Who are my customers? What are my target customers? Who am I looking at to solve this problem for? As we said, how do you create value? How do you deliver value? How do you capture value? You must know who are the customers for whose problems I am trying to solve. Then 3 is the unique value proposition. What is that value that you're giving to them? What is that value that is so unique that they cannot get that value from anywhere else? And then, more importantly, the solution. I know people compare the solution. The solution gives you the value. The solution can be a phone, but the value out of the phone is that people maybe can be able to make phone calls. And then 5 is the unfair advantage. Think about what is so unique to you that no one can copy it. Maybe you're tall, therefore you play basketball. Maybe you're short, therefore you do something else. So what is that unfair advantage where maybe you have a special formula? Maybe you have a certain talent that no one else could ever have. You should think about what makes you unique. What is it that anyone else does not have? And it is almost unfair, but it is your magic. It is your gold. It is the thing that makes you tick. Then most importantly, and I repeat, most importantly, revenue streams. How are you going to make money? Colleagues, it is not useful to just come up with business ideas that never make money. It is just an idea until it makes money, then it becomes a business. The moment it does not make money, it is still there. And making money does not mean that you're actually making a profit. It could be a social enterprise, but at the end of the day, there has to be a revenue stream. How do you bring in money? It does not, there's a difference between just making money and creating revenue or bringing in money, which could be donations, it could be the NGO world, it could be anything else, but there has to be a way that revenue comes into, otherwise other things may not be able to work. Then the cost structure. How are you spending that money? When the money comes, what are the things that take away that money from your pocket, that make it on which you spend money? Maybe it is rent for your business, maybe it is operational cost or capex or anything like that. And then there's the key metrics as number 8. The key metrics talk about how do you know that you are succeeding? Sometimes we never know when to stop. And sometimes entrepreneurs are so strong on their ideas that they never know when to stop. But there must be key metrics to know that if, let's say, if I am doing a business, how many of these products have I sold? What shows that I'm making money? What shows that customers are coming back? Otherwise, if that does not show, however beautiful your idea is, you have to put it out. You have to put it away and then come up with a different idea. And then also channels as number 9. channels talk about how do you reach your customers? What tools do you use to reach your customers? Let me just take us back a little bit on here to make sure that we don't lose the sight of the picture that we have. This is a one-page lean canvas or business model, which is an upgrade from the business model canvas that many of us might also have had. There is now a lean model canvas, which also speaks about very key elements. So, and replaces a few other sectors that already apply to a bit of an established business, which would then move into a business model canvas. And let me just reconfirm to you that the lean model canvas is just a starting point for startups. As you become stronger and bigger, then you move into the model canvas and you move into the clear business plan. Now, I want us to be able to practice, and I hope success that people will soon be able to move to talk about, to write in the chat. Now, I want to talk about the first two. Excellent. So I want you to think about whatever business idea that you have. And as we go through this example, I want you to already begin to think, how would you feel in your own lean canvas? So the first elements are the problem and the customers. And colleagues, allow me to tell you this. There are 1,000, a million, a billion problems in this world. But some problems are not worth your time. If you think you can solve all the problems, you're not going to do business. But think of a problem and then think about a customer at the same time. Every time you think of a problem, it should not be your problem alone. It should be a problem for certain people, because those people, if you solve their problem, then they will pay. You will convince them to pay because you are creating for them value. They will see sense in what you are creating. So it is very important that every time you see a problem, understand who cares enough about this problem that they are willing to pay for it. Don't lose me on this one. Who cares enough about a particular problem that they are willing to pay for it? Be very keen on identifying that. So otherwise you can see problems everywhere you go. And those problems, as entrepreneurs, we say, those are the opportunities. Now, there can be problems on the street, but whose problem is it? That becomes your customer. And most importantly, who cares enough about my problem that they are willing to pay for it? Those are the exact customers you talk to. Let's use an example of, we are at a university. And one of the problems could be limited access to scholastic materials at campus. And maybe also another problem is very expensive food at campus and poor customer service by those that, that exist on campus. Who are the customers? And you think about whose problem is this? These are the students who who are looking for stationery, and then hungry students who come out of these long webinars and lectures and they do not have what to eat. And then students who care about how they are treated. Those who want, I want to feel good. I want to be treated well. I want to be treated with dignity. I don't want to line up too long, something like that. So this is an example, which is live for us who are students. Then what would be our unique value proposition and potential solution? The unique value proposition would be that, for example, we offer affordable materials at campus students with care. That could be our unique value proposition, the value that we give the students. And the solution is a canteen and stationery mixed together. So we can create a canteen and a stationery together. What is the unfair advantage? And then the revenue model. These are two other things that we can talk about. So an example of an unfair advantage could be that we have an exclusive contract with the student suppliers. I know some of you already do business. Maybe you have farms in the neighborhood, you grow tomatoes, or you have a way to bring in cheaper goods into the university, but you have never had a platform. So we could sign, as university students, we could sign a deal with an exclusive contract, maybe with the student supplier. And then that in our canteen, we use volunteers. Now, volunteers don't come that often, so that could be that. So just using an example. And then the revenue model would be that what we purchase, for example, this particular product, let's say it is food, we use 100 shillings, our operational costs are 10, retail gross margin is 150, and then the gross margin is 30. This is just an example, but this is how you talk about the revenue model of where else and how else you make money. And then the cost structure. We talk about the cost structure and then the key metrics. The cost structure is rent, 1,000, labor is 20, others and 50. So as you know, it is also, as we keep it as basic as possible when it comes to the lean model canvas. Then the key metrics, what will show us what will show us that we are beginning to make money, or that there is that things are beginning to move. Here now we talk about this should be 8. We talk about what shows us that we are beginning to grow. So number of return students and customers and volume of sales per day. And then here we will say, how do we reach our customers? So we can say word of mouth. We can talk about referrals, adverts, and we can advertise on campus. And then our class representatives can do that. Now, once we have written this, which can take literally 5 minutes to write down, no complications. It is the idea of a lean model canvas that it should not take you five weeks or a full month to write, just a few minutes to do that. And what do you do next? If you feel that the idea is not good enough, or that you want to make any changes, you can easily rush it and repeat. And in repeating, you now understand better what to do. Let's use an example. Many of us idealize that we want to have iPhones or Apple, but think about what their kind of lean canvas model would look like. An example could be that, their problem they're trying to solve is the absence of user-friendly computers. And I want you to not forget, after looking at the problem, you ask yourself, whose problem is it? And they say, the customer segment we are looking at is office employees and students. These students and office employees do not have user-friendly computers. Therefore, our unique value proposition is we want to create convenient and user-friendly computers with color graphics. How are we going to do that as a unique value selling proposition? The solution, therefore, is to create a portable computer. This portable computer, just to make sure we don't lose the track, this portable computer will have convenient and user-friendly graphics. All right. Now, the unfair advantage is that, they are Apple and that's it. And their revenue stream is they will do public sales. This one did not talk about the typical how they actually really make the money here. And the cost structure is that they will spend money on development. And then the key metrics is they will measure the number of loyal customers who keep coming for Apple 2, Apple 3, Apple 5, Apple 6. How are they going to reach them? They are going to reach them through business companies and office employees who will recommend, all right? Now, there are 2 other boxes that are part of the others, which include what I hadn't talked about earlier, but the early adopters. When you talk about the customers, you have to think about who are my first people who are willing to pay without asking too many questions. This could be your families, your friends, and other people. So, for example, here, the early adopters were the very founders. And then you think about, on this problem that I'm trying to solve and solution, what do people do to solve that problem? Then you say, for example, now people go to an existing canteen, but in this case of Apple, there was already IBM and Intel, all right? So this is an example of an established company that is already there and where we can learn from on how do they create a lean canvas. Then let me use Google. We Google all the time. Today I was struggling with Google and joining in. And let's just go through for them a bit. And again, don't lose the focus. First, the problem as number 1, and number 2, the customer. Whose problem is it? So the problem, how to find relevant information. Who are the customers? Web users, anyone that is using the web, all right? What is our unique selling proposition? We are going to provide something that does a quick search, and more relevant content. What is the solution? We are going to create a technology that could analyze user searches fast. This is how Google then came up with the Google search engine. Existing alternatives, you have Yahoo and all these things that died out later on. Then you talk about who are then the key metrics, what will show us that we are growing. That is the number of search queries, percentage of users that are found. So you have to create in place what will show you that you're actually succeeding. And then how shall we reach our people, the channels, and then we say user intents, like they're going to get onto them in that way. Not mentioning the cost structure is literally development of that search engine. The revenue streams is investment, advertisements, amongst others. We could even use other examples like Facebook and other things. So think about, let me just take you back as I almost lead to the conclusion of my presentation today on if you're creating an early stage business model. Ladies, gentlemen, the fastest and easiest tool to even monitor and just think about all sorts of ideas is the lean model canvas. It is simple, it is clear, and it is straight out to help you identify, is your business worth pursuing? I mean, is your business idea worth pursuing? The most important elements are literally three. What problem are you solving? Whose problem is it? And that is now the customers. And how will you make money? Every investor out there will think about these things. What is the problem? What is the solution? Whose problem is it? How are you going to make money from the solution? And then the general question you should always ask yourself when you come first with these two things is my problem worth solving? And how do you know that? Do people care enough to pay for it? So whatever idea you think about, if you ever want to make a living and make money or turn it into a business, you should ask yourself, I see the problem, I see whose problem it is, then ask yourself, does that person care enough to pay for it? If you answer that question, oh God, you are in business. You can be able to be in business. At this stage, I would like to invite Success. I'm happy to listen to any questions and answers. But even when you've done all this, at the end of the day, it is not a 50 page, it is not 100 pages, it is 1 page. You can just make sure that you crush it and then repeat and ask yourself the questions again and again and again until you are sure that you have a perfect lean model canvas. Thank you very much. Success, over to you.
Thank you so much, Joel. I really got a lot from all that you've said. I really learned a lot, and I'm sure that the participants did as well. So we have one question here from James, and James is asking, when developing your key metrics, do you have to make it measurable?
Ideally, yes, just to be very clear on that one, it has to be measurable because we lie to ourselves a lot as entrepreneurs. I did myself that for a number of other businesses I've tried. So you must measure it and don't look at it like the way we set objectives of, but it has to be mathematical. It has to be metrical. There has to be a number, either amount of money made but more importantly, the money could lie to you. What is important about a business is that your customer comes back or the number of customers keep on increasing. So unless you measure that, you can either be stuck in a business which is not growing because you're focusing on the wrong thing. So the metrics should be measurable.
All right, thank you so much. So the next question here is, what's the difference between unfair advantage and the unique selling proposition?
Okay, so the unique selling proposition is, let me first start on what you're saying so that we don't get lost on it. Here it even says academically that it is the single, clear, compelling message that states why you are different and worth buying. Now, this one says the value you give. You know, the unique value proposition of Apple, even, in fact, under number 3, you even talk about the tagline that people use. I work for Standard Bank. Standard Bank says, Africa is our home. We drive her growth, all right? That infuses into our unique value proposition that we are driving the growth of Africa. But the unfair advantage is something very unique to you that no one can buy it, can copy it, something that is not easily copied. For example, copyright or a brand or a formula. If you are producing, maybe something that has that is a food, that could be a formula. Otherwise, the unique value, the unfair advantage is something that cannot just be copied without you. If it is a canteen, it could be something like maybe you have a special way. We talked about volunteers, but it could be something you've come up with, which is an innovative model that no one else knows, or that that only you are able to get. So something extremely unique to you that cannot easily be copied. I hope that answers.
Yes, I hope it does as well. So we have a comment from Patrick Banda. He says, wonderful presentation, much appreciation, and I've seen myself excelling in my own business. Thank you, Patrick. And Philip Kabiru is asking a question. He says,
I want Patrick to note what his business idea is. When he does, you read it to me as well. But go on to the next question.
All right. So Philip Kabiru is saying, you talked of tools for business model and you talked of Waterfall, the known, Agile in between. So what is the third tool?
What is the what?
The third tool. You talked of tools in business model, you talked of Waterfall, you talked of Agile. So what's the third one?
So the tools are these three. The tools for business modeling are the lean canvas model, which we have just been going through, the business plan, which I'm sure all of us have heard of and know, and then the business model canvas. Normally, and if you read in the past, we have moved from, let me put this in better context. Now, in history, in the past, you could easily just create a business plan. A business plan, as you know, has projections 5 years ahead, and it is assumed that the business plan will work. But in the current generation, where things keep changing over and over, every other new day, I just heard that Apple created Apple 14 or something like that. Like, news happens, COVID happens, a lot of changes are happening constantly. You cannot have a projection of 20 years and expect that all will go well and nothing will change. So that's why we have created other tools like the business model canvas. The business model canvas is also one page, but the business model canvas talks about, for example, key partners and key resources, which the assumption is you already know these people. They must already exist. However, we know, as we are still at university, and that some of our ideas we don't yet know yet. So what is the easiest way to start is you start with the lean model canvas. The lean canvas is an innovative, a very fast, innovative way to say, I know the problem I'm trying to solve, and I know the customers, and I will listen from those customers over and over so that I am able to create a solution that fits them. That is why I use this example, that Waterfall is for the business plan. If you can see on your left, I think, which is on my right, that is Waterfall is you create a business plan because it is known. You are building a plane, you know the customers, create a waterfall, create a business plan. But Agile, you easily create a business model canvas. You know your key partners, you know there are a few things that you know, but you know you don't want to do it too much. So maybe it is mobile money, or these days even phones use Agile. But if you're a startup and there are so many things that you don't know yet, you don't even know who your customers will be, you don't know how much they are willing to pay, you don't know if they will buy it or they don't buy it, then you rather use the lean innovation model.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Joel. I'm sure that clearly answers it. We have a comment from Bode. While we are waiting for Patrick Banda to type in his business model, For day says, thank you so much, Sir Joel Bamwise. I have gotten a lot in this webinar. Now I can see that my business activities are fitted with the lean business model. That means for day, you're way ahead of us. Congratulations. And so we have a question also asking, is the business model a subsection or a component of a business plan?
I would say yes. And I just want you to know that depending, so what I've learned practically, just to tell you, and I see one of your lecturers might be here. Most of the lecturers at university will ask you for a business plan because academically, let's say, that is what is accepted. But the business plan takes a lot of time to create. You need to have at least maybe 50 pages or at minimum 20 pages. And yet the business model canvas and the lean canvas are one pages. And you can easily put your ideas on paper, lay it out in a very simple way, and it can make sense to you. And it could fail tomorrow, or if you want to change, you change. Imagine imagine COVID happened and you're supposed to change your business plan. You need to hire a consultant. And then they create another 5 pages with projections of 5 years. In the current generation and era, we may not need, especially for a very new idea, you don't have to go through the pain or feeling like you don't have anything to show your business. Just stick to a business model canvas or a lean canvas. Now, a lean canvas is indeed a subset of the business plan. Why? It is the beginning stages of creating value, capturing value, and delivering that value in just one page. Then all those sections, if you can create a business plan which includes 9 things. So you can write 10 pages of 10 pages each on each of the boxes, talking about what your problem is. You can write 10 pages about that, explaining it in detail, etc. You can create 10 pages about the solution, and you have 90 pages of a business plan. But for the start, because you don't have a lot of time, it is a new idea, you're still learning, you're still discovering, just stick to the lean canvas.
Thank you so much, Joel. Patrick, we're still waiting for your business model. And
in fact, okay. Success, his business idea, he may be worried, maybe doesn't change, just a business idea. I want to understand and to know. And anyone else who has an existing business idea, maybe you can also post it if we still have a minute or two, so that we can even brainstorm on how could that look like.
Yeah, that is actually a very good opportunity to put your business model in the chat or your business idea, and then we'll just work out to see how best the lean canvas model works to fit into your business. So I have a question, Joel. So my question is, the lean business model has 3. Okay, you build, you use the customer feedback, and then you innovate and you continue that way. Is there any timeline, or should every company have a timeline on how often they go through this part? Let's say every 3 months, they say, okay, we're going to go through the customer feedback, and then we innovate and we build and we release. Like, how does it work? Is that a possibility?
Well, thank you so much, Success. That is a beautiful question. And it is an interesting dilemma for entrepreneurs. Ideally, it varies from business to business. And what I can assure you is you must get feedback as fast as you release a product. So every time you release something into the market, let's say you make popcorn, ideally, you should get customer feedback from the people. And if there is nothing to change, you don't have to change anything. But there should be a continuous process of feedback. Let me just remind us, the class, that if you have ever read about Nokia, the CEO of Nokia was once quoted saying, "We did not do anything wrong, but somehow we failed." And that is a very interesting statement, from a chief executive, because what they did, they were using Waterfall. They followed their business plan up to the dot. They said, we produce, we sell. But they didn't factor in that at that time, Apple was coming, Samsung was coming, all these other things were coming, and they were listening to people's feedback. And they innovated faster than Nokia could ever innovate, and Nokia failed. So we are now in an innovation model, an innovation generation, where things happen every single day. Just to throw you another example, think of, for those of you, I'm an enthusiastic of space. So I follow the guys like Elon Musk and people that are flying to Mars and the moon. It took us over 50 years without developing anything because people were using kind of Waterfall. But these guys have innovated so fast. They have made sure that we now have rockets that can land by themselves, that we don't have to, we can now reuse rockets. So if you want to keep on innovating, you have to keep on listening and releasing. You listen, you release a new brand. That's how Apple is always ahead of the market, because literally every year they listen to the customer feedback, fix the bugs, and release another phone. Listen to customer feedback, build another phone, release it. So constantly listening and following the trends from the market. That is the only way you survive in the market and you stay successful. And so that you never say like Nokia did, that we never did anything wrong, but somehow we failed.
That's very excellent. Thank you so much, Joel. And I have a comment here from Silobo, and he speaks my mind actually. He says, thank you. This feels much more like a conference than a classroom presentation. I see this as a practical tool that can be done quickly and save time for actually getting the groundwork done. Thank you so much, Silobo. It's very practical indeed, and we are glad to hear that everyone is benefiting from it. So we have one more question here, and it's asking on what's the best way to get the customer, like to fill in the customer segments? How do you actually, understand your target customer? Yeah, we've done market research, but how do we understand our target customer so that we can move to understanding that unique value position? How do we do that in this lean model canvas? Do we have to do the whole market research in order to do that? Or is this something we just think of since we're trying to do a very quick model? I don't know if you get the question.
Okay. Success, I hope you can still hear me. I think so, and I hope you can still hear me. So there's something we call, there's something we call customer interviews. So colleagues, I know we were taught about the market research, but there's something that is simple that is called customer interviews. All you need to do, that's why I needed an example of a business. I don't know if any has come up in the chat, but let me use.
Yes, we have one actually. So we have one from Patrick Banda. He says, my business ideal goal is to move up the retail drugstores by 2024 and reach more than 50,000 people across Ngabo. Patrick Banda is from Malawi.
Okay, now, if you want to move up to retail drug shops, okay, let's say you want to deal with, let's say to sell medication as pharmaceutical in a new way. All you need to do is go out and just hypothesize and say, would you, let me even use a different example because medicine has a lot of rules and regulations, but if you just have to ask someone, would you be interested, that's on campus, to buy stationery from a different shop? As simple as that. Would you be interested? You talk to, don't just talk to your friends, talk to anyone randomly. There's an exercise we do, but this will need another webinar, but which would mean that go out of your, like right now, how many times have you ever asked someone else about your business idea? but don't sell. Make sure you don't sell. Just go to them and say, so imagine, or you create what we call a prototype. Let's say you can even draw a picture of a shop, all right? Or even download a picture of a canteen, a photo of a canteen, and just show someone and say, this canteen is coming up. Would you be interested in buying from this canteen? It will be stationed at campus. You don't need to set up a canteen yet. You can just have a picture and show someone and get their feedback. Don't sell. Don't tell them it will do this, it will do that. No, just tell them this is it. Would you be interested? And whatever they tell you is customer feedback. And you have to collect at least, maybe if it is a bigger business, above, let's say 100 customer interviews. And once you listen to those, it is the blueprint of a market research. You don't have to hire a consultant to go around and ask very hard questions. Just say, would you be interested to buy? How can people serve you better? These people will tell you what their needs are. They will tell you what their pain points are, but never forget to ask, are you willing to pay for this product? Are there people willing to pay for the drugstore or for the retails? You have to ask them if they are willing to pay. If you ask them that, you will not build a shitty business. You will build a business that already comes to market when the customers know, when you know the problem of the customers and you have a clear solution, and at the right price, you're able to sell and make money or make a living.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I wish we have more time so that we can walk through with Patrick's idea for the remaining sections, but we're already a bit over our time.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting to get to know that this simple tool, very simple, than what we have always thought a business model was, can be used to effectively lead us to creating very formidable businesses. So thank you so much, Mr. Joel, for leading us through this presentation. It's very beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming here and staying up to this time. The recording will be available in case you need to go through, because I knew a lot was said. In case you need to go through everything, please, the recording will be available and the slides as well. So over to you, Joel, for any closing words.
Okay, thank you so much, Success. I appreciate the fact that first I was given this opportunity to speak to you. I love to work with students because innovation, especially in Africa, I'm very passionate about Africa and the power we can unlock and the potential of entrepreneurship. Guys, let's innovate. Let's think and think fast. It is possible to change our generation. It is possible to change this continent, but we need entrepreneurs like yourselves. We need people who are coming up with ideas, and ideas that you're not worried for them to fail, but big ideas. Don't just think about a mom shop or a pop shop. Think about ideas that can change the world. And how to do that is find what are the biggest problems in the world, how can you change them? And if you find a solution to some of these big problems, like for example, the drug problem that, the drugstore problem that Patrick may be talking about, if you find a clear solution, then investors are there, people are there, we can make a change in this continent. I wish you all the best in your studies, and I can't wait. Reach out if you have any ideas, business ideas. I have a lot of links to investors, to other people who are looking for great ideas in Africa, and I'm happy to support and mentor those that are willing to create time. I thank you and all the best.
Thank you so much, Joel. Bye, everyone.
Bye.